Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever. My name is Willie Lawson, and welcome to. We're going to put this video up on Urban Game Changers Florida and on the Fight Back Media page on Facebook. So, I trust that you had a great Easter. We had a good Easter here. We did not attend services, unfortunately, today. It had more to do with my wife is worried about my health because I am a person who's had severe respiratory problems in the past 10 years. And I had pneumonia twice, been to the hospital both times, almost killed me both times. So it's out of that phrase we use, an abundance of caution. Everybody here is healthy. We're good. Everybody's going to work tomorrow. My wife and I are going to work tomorrow. She works from home, and I'm able at this point to work from home too. So life is it's not normal, but we are thankful. I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to talk to everybody because we are. And again, I'm not into this. We are experiencing a new normal. That's not it at all. What we are going to experience is something that I think that we must be ready. We have to be ready for when we come out of this, and we're going to come out of this. They just can't hold 327 million people hostage forever. As we come out of this, we're going to have to be ready to do some things. This afternoon, I was, after we had communion and I'd eaten, I was thinking that, because I had mentioned while we were praying, it come to me that, on Friday, and we're saying on the Friday that Christ was crucified, it was a very sad day and a very tumultuous day for the disciples, at least. And then Saturday had to be the day, that middle day. Now, whether you're going to call it Saturday, I don't really care what you call it. That middle day where it seemed like you'd lost, seemed like it was all over. All that you'd gone through, all that you'd seen, all that you'd hoped for, all that you were excited about was over. It had to be the worst day. And we could live in a perpetual Saturday. We're going to call it Saturday. We could live in a perpetual Saturday. Or we could move to the day where the angel is sitting on top of the stone like, yeah, what up? The one that you're looking for isn't here. So we can live in hope. We can live in that perpetual day of hope because we have to. And in that perpetual day of hope, we must prepare. And there's some things that on our level, on the things that we talk about and that we deal with, that we need to do. And we're going to talk about those. They're basically three steps. But before I get to those, I want to get to what the Florida coronavirus stats are in ranking for today. Because having information is, of course, very powerful. All right, today, Florida is ninth in total cases, which is pretty amazing or not surprising because we are third in total tests. We are 11th in total deaths, and that has a lot to do with the number of tests, and has a lot to do with our population. We have an older population here in Florida. They used to call St. Petersburg God's waiting room, right? We are ninth in active cases right now, but we are 20th in cases per 1 million people. And that's dropped, and all these numbers have dropped. We are, 23rd in deaths per million. So what's starting to happen is that Florida is starting to go over the curve, I believe, and we're going to be coming out of this sooner than later. Now, in that, we have to make sure that we do these three things that I talked about. There are going to be three things, and one of them is going to first make a list that we need to find, and then we're going to maintain an even playing field. Before we get to those, I wanted to play some clips that you're probably not seeing on you're not seeing on regular TV, because that's not what they're interested in getting into your head. That's not what they're interested in getting into anybody's head right now. They're just not interested. All right, we're going to play. This clip is from One America News. Enjoy it. Take notes. Be right back.
As health experts fall under criticism for flawed projections and questionable data. Here's One America's Marty Goligan.
The minimum number was 100,000 lives, and I think we'll be substantially under that number.
President Trump is optimistic about the reduced loss of life as a result of the coronavirus, as the data continues to shift in a positive direction from the initial projections. According to an updated model by the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, the total death toll of about 60,000 is expected by August.
Hard to believe that if you had 60,000, you can never be happy, but that's a lot fewer than we were originally told and thinking.
During Friday's task force briefing, the president credited the will of the American people for the decline, for adhering to the White House guidelines to slow the spread of the virus.
So they said between 100 and 220,000 lives on the minimum side, and then up to 2.2 million lives if we didn't do anything. But it showed a just tremendous resolve by the people of this country.
This comes after two of his top medical experts, Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Deborah Birx, had to defend their first round of death toll projections this week. Many have criticized the doctors for allegedly inflating the numbers after Dr. Birx said anybody with underlying health problems who happened to die while infected with the virus would be reported as dying from COVID-19.
There is absolutely no evidence that that's the case at all. You know, I think it falls under the category of something that's very unfortunate, these conspiracy theories that we hear about. Every time we have a crisis of any sort, there's always this popping up of conspiracy theories. I think the deaths that we're seeing are coronavirus deaths, and the other deaths are not being counted as coronavirus deaths.
Now, did you hear that? Did you hear what he said? He said these deaths are coronavirus deaths. The others aren't being counted as coronavirus deaths. He just said that. He just said that. Here's what Dr. Birx said.
At Thursday's briefing, Dr. Birx had to clarify her comments about why people with serious health problems would be reported as a death from the coronavirus as opposed to their previous diagnosed condition.
We've made it very clear, I think, every time I've been up here about the comorbidities. And so most of the people, and we talked about the Italy data, the majority of the Italians who succumbed to this had 3 or more comorbidities. So this has been known from the beginning. So those individuals will have an underlying condition, but that underlying condition did not cause their acute death when it's related to a COVID infection. In fact, it's the opposite. Having an underlying condition and getting this virus, we know, is particularly damaging to those individuals.
Despite continuously revised modeling and projection updates from the task force doctors this week, President Trump said he would defend and continue to listen to his health experts. Meanwhile, Dr. Birx says the IMHE model of a lower death toll would only maintain its lower curve trajectory if the nation continued observing social distance guidelines through the month of May. Marty Goligan, One America News.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.
This is not what you're going to hear on mainstream media. This is not what you're going to see. Even between Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci, there seem to be some back and forth. If I can try to muddy the water, let me turn that down just a little bit. If I can muddy the water just a little bit more. So if you have heart disease and you get shot, You didn't die of heart disease. You died of the gunshot. This is a problem. People can't talk. They can't talk to us. So I think that's what she's saying. But the problem, but the problem with how they're still counting these deaths is that you have to have, or you don't have to have, but you have to have these comorbidities. I have trouble saying that word, to be in that higher risk group. So if you're not obese, or if you're not somebody who's had, you don't have COPD, you don't have cystic fibrosis, you don't have hypertension, and you're not in these groups, then the chances of you having a positive outcome are very, very high, even if you get the virus. This is what we need to talk about. It's been my understanding for years that quarantines is a situation where you, for all intents and purposes, lock up the sick people and you let the well people run free. When you lock up the well people and the sick people, that's something else. That's something else entirely. You know what that is? That's what that is. All right. We are going to, let's see. Was going to play another clip right now, but let me hang on. So let me go to my 3 points, and I'll play 2 more clips that you're not going to see. The first one is that as this is going on, make a list. Floridians, make a list. My friends in Fightback Media around the country, make a list. Make a list of the city council people, the county commissioners, the local health officials, unelected bureaucrats, state house, state senate, governors, U.S. reps, U.S. senators, who are already sheriffs, police departments, who are already all excited about suspending the Constitution. Make a list of these people that are ready to suspend the Constitution out of an abundance of caution. We've seen the clips, and if you haven't, we'll play them here on Fightback Media and the Urban Game Changers Florida page about the Greenville, Mississippi pastor who's being told by a police officer that his First Amendment rights have been suspended. And this is language that has been heard in other places, basically directed at pastors, that your First Amendment rights, your rights have been suspended. They can only be suspended if they actually came from government. They don't come from government, so they can never be suspended. And I know to government, that's problematical. That's frustrating. But they can't be suspended. Remember, make a list of the kind of people where you live, especially who are using that phraseology, that terminology. It's important that we make a list. Second of all, we need to find, groom, and support candidates to replace these people. We have candidates to run against these people in 2020. I know that's right away. 2022, 2024, and into the future. We have a tremendous opportunity. They may have, the left, the global left may have overplayed their hand. They may have overplayed their hand, and we must take this opportunity to make them pay for it politically. To make them politically pay for it by removing them from office, removing them from power, and putting in and solidifying safeguards to make sure that this can't happen again. That is incredibly important. Now, my Urban Game Changers family, you're wondering why this is important to you, and I'll tell you why. Because the thing that creates the even playing field that a lot of us talk about is the Constitution of the United States. It doesn't matter that the left will say, and people will say that, the 3/5 compromise counted black people as 3/5 of a person. We know, first of all, we know that isn't true, and the Constitution does not support it doesn't support the institution of slavery. It does not. So all those things have been debunked. But what it does do, it does do what Dr. King says. It writes a check to everybody, including the African American community in America, including me and people who look like me. It is the even playing field. My rights, my First Amendment, my Second Amendment, my Fourth Amendment rights have got to be respected, no matter my skin color, no matter the neighborhood I live in, no matter the money I have or money I don't have. It is the even playing field. It is. So we need candidates in every single solitary position in America that believe that, and that will practice that, and will show that. So again, we need to start writing these names down. And I know in a lot of places, these people are going to be tough to replace. I understand, because some of them are going to come out of this thing looking like, looking like heroes when they were just tyrants. One of them here is in my very own city. Jane Castor is going to come out of this thing looking like a heroine hero, which was just a tyrant. Some of the sheriff is going to come out of this thing looking like a hero when he was just an agent of tyranny. That's just how it is. So in some places it's going to be really hard. This is why we have to start now. This is why we have to start talking about it now, right now. Because if we don't start talking about it right now, it's going to be really tough later. And for some of us, it's going to be us. Yeah, and that's always the crazy part. It's going to have to be us. As someone who has run for local office, I know what that's like. I know what that is. Yeah, it's a bunch of stuff, but you know what it isn't? Fun. You know what it isn't? Easy. No, believe me. Believe me. I get it. I do. All right, we're going to play the other video from Australia concerning the World Health Organization. And so we can get, because this is really important, that you sort of get a bird's eye view. Also, often they tell us that we here as Americans don't really understand the global view of things and how we're sequestered here and we're so parochial and provincial. We don't really get what's going on around the world. Well, listen. Here's a clip from a Australian news person talking about the World Health Organization. Watch this.
But first, to borrow a bit of football coaching lingo, there are some learnings we can take out of all of this mess. And one of them is how useless and politically correct the World Health Organization is. Donald Trump got this right yesterday when he called WHO China-centric and threatened to pull US funding.
We're going to put a hold on money spent to the WHO. We're going to put a very powerful hold on it, and we're going to see. It's a great thing if it works, but when they call every shot wrong, that's no good.
He rightly pointed to his widespread travel bans. Remember, he went pretty early, which bizarrely was a measure criticised by WHO at the time. In fact, WHO has constantly disapproved of international travel restrictions. They see them as ineffectual Now, that in itself illustrates how out of step this mob is, out of step with first world medical experts. The biggest trouble we've had here with infection is with overseas travellers returning home. So their advice has proven totally contrary to what has actually worked. Now, let's not forget it wasn't until early February, 5 weeks after they were informed about coronavirus clusters in Wuhan, that WHO called for United Nations assistance and their crisis management team was activated. A bit slow? I think it looks that way. The WHO Director General has been blindly relying on official Chinese government figures as well, over and over again, which Chinese media has even been questioning. Now, this prominent Chinese billionaire has been attacking the regime on YouTube for misleading the world, claiming China has sent enough incinerators to Wuhan to cremate 3 million dead bodies. And look, the latest rumour has it that tech giants operating in China have noticed 21 million less mobile phone use. It may be rubbish, probably is. But who buys a death toll in China of 3,335? Give me a break. Now, the organisation even tweeted that preliminary investigations by Chinese authorities had found no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the virus. Talk about being sucked in, or even worse, supporting lies. And then they used the word impressive to describe China's role. That was also the day WHO declared COVID-19 a pandemic, which was weeks after several nations, including ours, Australia, had already made that declaration. This mob is an utter joke, and they've sucked up to China on several occasions. It's not fooling anyone. It's about retaining Chinese financial support, which, as we discovered last month, totals close to 35 million Australian dollars per year. By the way, we give them 8.4 million a year, about 8.3 too much. And given how cruel and secretive communist officials were when informed of the virus, fancy congratulating China for the way they handled this crisis. They allowed 5 million people from that province to travel throughout China and the world before making it public. What should happen? They should be repaying us. They should be paying reparations to every affected nation and to the families who've lost loved ones. But there was Tedros, again today, doing China's bidding and attacking China's nemesis, Taiwan.
But since I don't have any inferiority complex when I am personally affected or attacked by racial slurs, I don't care because I am a very proud black person or Negro. I don't care being called even Negro. I am. That's what came from some quarters. And if you want me to be specific, 3 months ago, this attack came from Taiwan.
Oh, China would be very proud of that. Just like the United Nations, WHO is a waste of space. If after this pandemic the world didn't have a global health organisation like WHO, I doubt whether anyone would notice the difference. Just get out of our way.
All right. Well, wow. You know what I'm saying? Those are pretty strong. Those are pretty strong words from somebody who was, somebody. That clip was from Australia, by the way, and Australia is pretty. I mean, geographically pretty close to what's going on there, and pretty hip to what's going on in that region of the world. So, as we come out of this, we're going to have to have that hard conversation about who was rooting for whom. Who was rooting for whom? And when we have some of our own, let's see here. I don't know why he had to pick Hot Pockets. I don't know why he had to pick on Hot Pockets. Apparently he was looking at me and going, "You fat boy, stop eating them damn Hot Pockets." Hot Pockets. Yeah. I don't eat Hot Pockets. Hot Pockets had way too much sodium for a fellow like me to be eating. But they are delicious. Again, I am not a big Bill Maher fan, but Maher is not wrong. And this is the stuff that he's getting dragged on the internet about. the line about, if the sun was exploding, there'd be somebody on Twitter complaining that we were calling it a dwarf star. We shouldn't use that terminology, blah, blah, blah. It's offensive. Please, really. But these are the people that we have to start writing their names down. Writing them on the list of people who have abdicated their abdicated their responsibility, and they have given up their right to be in office. They have given up their right to be a member of the press. I'm sorry, you can't sit in the. We're going through all this stuff. The economy is being shut down by government, not by the marketplace. It'd be one thing if the economic decisions being made were crap canning the economy, but that's not what's happening. It's Dr. Birx and it's Dr. Fauci and it's the CDC, which is not a government organization, which is not a part of the government, by the way. It's got a similar, exactly not quite, but similar relationship to government as a Federal Reserve. It's these bureaucrats, these unelected, nameless, faceless bureaucrats that's crap canning the economy. That's what's going on, and we need to, as much as we can, get their names and replace them. It is the Constitution of the United States that needs to be not just the founding document, but the directing document going forward. So when somebody says, what's the plan? The Constitution is the plan. We're going to go by the things that are already written in the Constitution. That's the plan. So when Jake Tapper gets onto Twitter and says, Mr. President, what's your plan? It's like that. It's like Donald Trump sitting around going, "Oh, let me get to Jake. Jake, my plan is." Shut up, Jake Tapper. Shut up, CNN. The Constitution is the plan, you moron. And one more thing before I go. One thing we have to stop doing is we have to stop saying and thinking that those that are on the radical left are stupid. They're not stupid. They're awful. They're evil because they know these things. We don't have any knowledge that they don't have. They understand that these local governments are usurping the Constitution and crushing people's rights into dust. They know that. They just don't care. They like it. They like it when you're under the thumb of the government. They like it. That's how they want it. And they want Trump, who they called a Nazi, a Nazi and a fascist, to be more of a Nazi and a fascist. That's what they want. When they say that Trump's not doing enough, what they actually mean is this. Trump has not ordered the military to violate Patti Comitatus and go into these communities and lock them down. Simply allowing governors to deal with their states is not enough. That's what they're saying. So let's look at the governors. Let's look at the state legislators. Let's look at the county commissioners and the sheriffs. Let's look at the mayors, city council people. Make your list. Let's get something done when we get out of this. Anyway, I got to get out of here. It's late. It's almost tomorrow. It's almost today. So when you see this, it'll be today. I started this yesterday. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now. Hey, there was a big gap in there and there was some disunity in this video, and I want to tell you why. There was a clip that I took from HBO's The Bill Maher Show. Maher had something to say that I thought was newsworthy, and I thought we could use for fair use, but apparently we cannot on YouTube. We did on Facebook, and that's why it looks janky there. And I apologize. But we move forward. It was basically Bill Maher saying how silly it was for the left and the media to make a big deal about calling COVID-19 the Chinese virus, because they called it the Chinese virus for a long time, and that's how we all heard about it. And now, in his words, there are people who would rather die of the virus than call it by the wrong name. This is basically something, if we're going to be looking for blame, this is something that we should be blaming China for. My favorite line from his rant is that China has viruses coming out, more viruses coming out of it than the Dominican Republic has shortstops. So that's why it's janky, and I apologize. We will move forward. Thanks again for enjoying the video. Thanks for liking it. Thanks for sharing it. We are going to do our best here at Fight Back Media to push a narrative that is true, that is factual, that is timely, and that is balanced. So if you will continue to support us, we'll continue to do our work. Go to fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com. You can see all our assets there, including our friends at 46 News, a production of Red River TV, and a link to the Swanson Report with my friend Paul Swanson. So thank you again.